Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I have been given a task to provide a lecture about the importance of stomatiting or stoma planning. So again, I would like to congratulate the organizers and the committee for having a very successful event. And I would like to thank them for inviting me, even though unfortunately I was not able to make it due to some personal schedule. So, when we talk about ostomy care and stoma planning, it is one of the very important components when it comes to the different phases of ostomy care. And I think before, when I was just starting as a ostomy nurse practitioner in Manila, and I think not only in Manila but also in different setting, stoma planning and stoma marking is quite difficult to accomplish. Number one, because of some resistance in some practitioners, and number two, not all patients who undergo stoma surgery experience to have a stoma planning or stoma sighting. So it is very important to be a component of our patient care or in the phases of in the different phases of stomach care when we're going to provide one. So some of my disclaimers, of course, this presentation is intended for educational purposes only, and the information provided would reflect the best available knowledge at that time of preparation, but should not be considered as of course, it can be, there are maybe some off-labeled recommendations, and mostly these are based on my clinical practice as a ostomy and wound nurse in the Philippines. So some of the contents are based on our institutional best practice guidelines, which we have made, and also hospital experience, but I do not have any conflict of interest to them. Learning objectives, of course, uh, at the end of this lecture, we will be able to identify the key principles and, of course, some of the anatomical considerations in selecting the proper site or ideal site in doing stomasighting, to demonstrate the proper techniques in stomasighting marking, although it's just very brief because of the minimum amount of time given to us on this lecture. And to apply different patient-centered approaches in stoma planning that would include, of course, the different phases of stomach care. So, how does or why does stomasighting matters? According to now, according to the Wound Ostomy Incontinence Society, Nursing Society, or even in most of those practitioners that we have now, even in surgeons, even for those nurses, we say that a poorly placed stomach can ruin an otherwise perfect surgery, which is true. No? So, if the future of the patient's condition when it comes to taking care of their stoma, their independency, always depends on the proper site or the ideal site. And stoma creation is not just a surgical act, but it is a life-changing event for the patient that might be permanent. No? Although some can be temporary, but for others that may have a permanent stoma, imagine if it's improperly placed, they can have this long-term complications that can be eventually be a problem in their quality of life. So if you have a poorly planned stomas, it may lead to leakage, no, frequent leakage, of course, frequent skin irritations, frequent appliance changes that can be quite financially challenging for everyone. You know that ostomy appliance are quite expensive. And of course, the decrease in quality of life. If they get frequent complications or frequent problems, most of them may not continue to do their daily activity. Some may have affectations on their relationships with their family and loved ones, and some may be affected when it comes to work, no, and operational issues. So, we as nurses play a critical role in stomasighting through proper assessment, proper education, and of course, our advocacy in helping them improve their quality of life. Now, what are the different factors to consider when it comes to stoma care. Now, of course, you can see there's quite a number of them. Like, for example, because of a lack of orientation or counseling, they may have the anxiety or wrong information about having a stoma. There are some misconceptions, no? And of course, there must be a pre and post surgical counseling and management of the irritations. Patient, not only patient, but also family members must be included in the counseling to avoid confusion. And another thing is there must be like, for example, where are they going to go? Who are the right people they're going to talk to when it comes to proper counseling? And you can see there that without proper stomach care, there can be a longer hospital length of stay due to patients' poor confidence, no, on pouch changing and on proper stomach care, because we have to reevaluate the patient when it comes to their independency, or are they independent enough to go home and to do ostomy care by themselves. So there are some evidence-based literatures, no? Based on this, that stoma marking and stoma planning is very important. And that, according to Chaudhry, education and marking reduce stoma-related interventions, no? Specifically on the first 6 weeks of discharge. Persons whose stoma were placed correctly had significant higher quality of life scores than those with those incorrect stoma placement or non-functioning stomas. And of course, sighting and counseling can be, of course, less difficult when it comes to their adjustment or independency in pouch changing and, of course, ostomy care. There is a reduction of peristomal skin irritation and reduction of course, changes of their appliance. Now, without stoma planning, we can see that these are the most common complications that they may experience. Number one, stomal prolapse. They may have, of course, poor visualization of the stoma site. There can be skin irritations, dermatitis on the sides or on the peristomal area. And of course, there can be stomal retraction and or dimpling also on the site of the stoma, which can be a cause of leakage in the future. So, when it comes to stoma planning, um, there are certain goals that we have to achieve. Of course, number one, we have to ensure the functionality and accessibility of the patient, promote patient independence. How are they going to resume their daily activities? We have to also think of how to minimize complications like, for example, leakage and skin irritations in the future. So it's very important that they are also informed about the different appliances and accessories that are available in their area. We must also provide support, no, emotional support, and psychological well-being. And this is the importance of lay forums and ostomy gathering for our patients and including their family members. Now, one of how to maintain this goal is, of course, to gain proper assessment. Now, it's very important that we know how a healthy stoma looks like. So, a healthy stoma would typically be very pink, red, moist, and slightly raised above the skin level. And patients and family members must also be informed that a pale, dark, or black stomas may indicate compromised blood flow and may need urgent medical evaluation. Now, when it comes to the size, they should also be informed that the size may differ from the initial post-operative period and of course after a month time. Now we know that the stoma, or they should be informed that the stoma may change in size. Now the output or the effluent may depend on the type of stoma that is created to the patient, and it is very important that in monitoring the output and knowing what are the outputs, no, it may help to detect different complications such as, for example, constipation, dehydrations, or blockage. And in some, it's very important also to note if there is bleeding on the output of the patient. Now, all elective procedures that may result in stomach formation should therefore be assessed and marked preoperatively. This was an issue to us before when we were starting our ostomy center. But eventually, through our resilience and also through our advocacy, we were able to convince the hospital and also the other surgeons, not only colorectal surgeons, but the general surgeons also who's doing the same procedure to have their patient enrolled at the stoma center and to have a preoperative counseling and siting or stoma planning. Now, it is why that it is very important in doing this. We were able to make an algorithm or program to promote best practices in our center, not only for wound care but also in ostomy care. And this ostomy marking and planning is included in our ERAS program. And we're in the ostomy care framework, which is necessarily focused on the patient in the center. So we always advocate patient-centered, patient-tailored or customized care for patients which has this type of surgeries, no? This is a collaborative approach involving not only surgeons but also the different specialties in the hospital to ensure comprehensive care for a patient. Now, this is structured follow-ups, which includes, of course, the different phases, which are pre-operative, post-operative, and of course, discharge planning are keys to improve patient outcome, but also to monitor future complications. No? And this can help develop a good relationship between the patient, the family, and also to the healthcare provider. So when it comes to patient for stoma surgery, what are the things that we have to look into? Of course, we have to know that ostomy marking must be done on the preoperative phase. No? It is always on the preoperative phase at least 24 to 48 hours before the surgery, elective surgery, very rare or very few in cases of emergency surgery because it's difficult to do ostomy marking in emergency cases. So that is very important to have an inclusion and exclusion criteria. So what are the different key points, no? Number one, it involves collaborative planning. So collaborative planning involves not only the patient, but the family member, the surgeon, the wound and ostomy care nurse, wherein you discuss the different lifestyle, what is the occupation of the patient, what are certain physical limitations, no? And then of course timing. When you do ostomy marking, make sure that you have a ample time on a certain time of the day wherein there can be a focus on your activity and avoid any distractions. No? This is to make the procedure faster because when you do ostomy marking, it would take time because the patient will be doing different positions, no? And you'll be identifying the different ideal sites which can be best suited for the patient. So in emergency settings, like I said earlier, it must be done at least 24 hours or 48 hours before the surgery. Now, in emergency settings, there are some guidelines. Like for example, for us, we have made certain guidelines that consider general siting guidelines if full planning isn't possible. So there is a shortcut, no, what we call shortcut. Um, in emergency cases, we have a certain protocol on how to do it, and then of course, for elective cases, at least 24 to 48 hours before the surgery, the ostomy nurse must be uh, present, no, to the patient. So in the site selection process, you have to identify the proper site, which is of course at the abdominal rectus muscle. So you must know how to locate the abdominal rectus muscle because it is the only area or the only part wherein a stoma can be placed ideally, which can hold the bag, no, because of the muscles there, and also can hold the weight of the bag, and also to avoid certain complications in the future. So next, what are the things to check in the site collection? Of course, you have to identify or ask the patient what are his hobbies, what are his interests, how does he wear his clothes, no? Does he wear belts? Does he wear suspenders? Does he tuck in his clothes, no, on his pants? So those things that may be addressed, no? What is the type of ostomy and surgical approach to be done? Is it a colostomy? Is it a ileostomy? Of course, are there previous scars that be noted about the visual acuity? Can the patient see the stoma site or the ideal site? About the mobility and dexterity, can the patient reach out? Can the patient do maneuvers with that site that we have already identified. No? Now, in the selection criteria, make sure that the site is on the flats. I always remember this, even though even from the time that I was still in my training there, that it should always be at the top of the mountain. So flat surface of the abdomen, always away from the scapholds and bony prominence. It should be visible and reachable by the patient. It is within the rectus muscle to prevent herniation and prolapse. And of course, it should be above the belt line or below the belt line, depending on the patient's lifestyle. No? Now, in positioning the patient, assess in multiple positions. No? So, for example, supine, sitting, standing, uh, and in these different positions, you will always ask the patient to check if they can visualize the site or the mark. So, in the marking technique, we use surgical markers. You circle the site. Some put an X, but we prefer, in our center, we prefer to put a circle and then label it clearly. Or sometimes we even put a stoma bag there, a wafer, to check if the wafer can hinder certain surgical incisions in the future, or it can be a issue on the umbilicus area. So after you label it, take a photo for documentation and also do your charting. The site must be easily be visible, no, to the patient for not only cleaning but for changing the pouch, no, and also in monitoring certain complications. Especially, it is very important, the visualization and accessibility is very important for patients with limited mobility or vision, for it can be a problem for them in the future. No? The independency can be a problem. Now, in marking the site, just like you can see on the slides, once the chosen site is suitable, it can be marked with an indelible pen. And then it should be properly endorsed to the staff that it will not be removed. It will not be removed during the washing. Now, to avoid this thing to happen, we advise that we use a transparent film. So, transparent film is placed on top of the marked site to avoid in cases that the patient will take a bath, no, so that it will not be washed away. So special considerations, no, in pediatric patients it's quite difficult to identify the abdominal rectus muscle. Elderly or disabled patients may have, short patience, no? So they have a very short time patience when it comes to time. So counseling and doing this thing can be difficult for them. So do it in different phases or different like for example, not on a one-time basis only. So do a series of counseling. Also for obese or malnourished because of the abdominal folds or skin folds. So when it comes to emergency settings, it's best to use your best judgment and also make a certain protocol about this and collaborate with your colorectal surgeons and surgeons. So for preoperative support and education, it's very important to demonstrate also proper appliance use, discuss certain issues when it comes to emotional impact, no? What is the understanding of the patient? How is the support group or the family support group? Engage patient when it comes to decision making in choosing the proper appliance and where to get them. And of course, document stoma site with notes and proper photos. Now, when it comes to home instructions, uh, or discharge instructions, it's very important that we discuss to them the proper stomach care, which is cleaning the peristomal skin, make sure that the skin is dry before applying the colostomy appliance, change the appliance every at least 3 to 5 days, or if there's a leak, immediately change the appliance, proper emptying of the pouch. When it comes to appliance management, ensure to make a correct fit of the wafer and the flange and they have the proper appliance with them. And then make sure that keep an eye on the changes on the stoma when it changes in size, no, in shape, and it's very important to inform their ostomy nurse and their doctor as well. So, keeping an emergency pouch system at all times whenever they go. So when they go out, make sure that they have an extra appliance with them to avoid, of course, problems when it comes to soiling themselves. So watch out for when to call your doctor when the stoma turns deep purple, black, or pale. So it is very important for them to know this so that they also know when or where to call their doctor and their nurse. No? If there's persistent bleeding and also foul smelling discharge, if there is skin irritations or rashes or open wounds around the stoma, if there is severe pain, no, and then there is no output within at least 6 hours or 24 hours per colostomy, it can be a health emergency or something that the doctor should. So, by doing stoma sighting, the importance of stoma sighting and preoperative counseling, I think, best patient outcomes, prevention of complications such as peristomal dermatitis, retraction, prolapse, and then it can encourage early ambulation to the patient and early independence, no? And of course, shorter length of stay at the hospital, which may mean lesser expense on their part, no? Now, key points and summaries, of course, preoperative stoma sighting is critical to reduce complications and promote quality of life. Proper collaboration and planning with the patient, the surgeon, and ostomy nurse ensures holistic care. Site selection should consider body habitus or lifestyle, mobility, and visual access. Proper stoma placement supports functionality, independence, and emotional well-being. And of course, the nurses play a vital role in patient education, psychosocial support, and of course, ongoing care to the patient. No? So I would like to leave everyone with this quote wherein a well-sighted stoma is the foundation of a confident and independent life for our ostomates. So again, congratulations and thank you very much for your attention. Terima kasih, everyone.